Today we are going to discuss the overview of unfair labor practices act. Unfair labor practices on the part of the employers is an age-old story. On the part of the workmen is again an age-old story. Unions, everybody has been unfair. And it so happened that in the year 1971, we had a state legislation which was passed by the Maharashtra legislature, and the name of the legislation is Maharashtra Recognition of Trade Unions and Prevention of Unfair Labor Practices Act 1971. I am not here to discuss the total MRTO and Pulp Act as it is so called, that is Maharashtra Recognition of Trade Unions and Prevention of Unfair Labor Practices Act. Today we are only going to discuss the concept of unfair labor practices, and it is just an overview. Mind well, we are going to have a series of videos on different unfair labor practices just to understand it in detail. This is just an overview. And what are unfair labor practices? Somebody has been unfair. That which is an antithesis of fairness is unfairness, and unions have been unfair, employers have been unfair. And the unfairness is fixed into schedules, packed into schedules. Schedule 3 of the MRTO and Pulp Act deals with unfair labor practices of unions, and Schedule 4 of employers. And mind well friends, that the success of this act, at least in state of Maharashtra, has been so great that a schedule is introduced in the Industrial Disputes Act. Maharashtra Recognition of Trade Unions and Prevention of Unfair Labor Practices Act is a state act. Industrial Disputes Act is a central piece of legislation. So you take these unfair labor practices from here and paste it in the Industrial Disputes Act, which makes unfair labor practices all over India the same. And that is why, why I am saying this is, this video, of course, it concerns you. So you should know what are unfair labor practices. This is not that these are the unfair labor practices only in state of Maharashtra. No, this is all over India. And what are unfair labor practices? To discharge or dismiss employees. What it contains? Schedule 4 of the Maharashtra Recognition of Trade Unions and Prevention of Unfair Labor Practices Act, or Schedule 5 of the Industrial Disputes Act. Unfair labor practices, friends, are the same. Say for example, what am I saying? To discharge or dismiss employees by way of victimization, to make a person victim, to make him a scapegoat. In the vernacular, it is called as a balika bakra. There is nobody on earth, including you and myself, who has never been a scapegoat or a balika bakra in our life. Somebody has been unfair with both of us. So how does it feel when somebody is unfair? So unfairness goes to the root of the matter. And when it is as far as workmen is concerned, there ought to be some law which is going to reign in the management, which is going to reign in the employer, that you are not to be unfair to that person. And suppose if he is discharged, he loses his job, he is dismissed. In this country, wherein jobs, to find a job is to get a lottery. And he is dismissed from his job. How? By way of victimization. Is an unfair labor practice. Well, after victimization is to dismiss or discharge employees, not in good faith, but in the tolerable exercise of the employer's rights. Not in good faith. That which is good faith means it's enshrined in a maxim in law which is called as res is palapitur. Means the thing speaks for itself. If you are good, it should speak for itself. And if not, then it smacks of some unfair labor practice. Not in good faith, but in the tolerable exercise of the employer's right. Then what we have is, say, on false or patently false reasons, something which is utterly false. Just think of a situation, you have not done it. And right from the bottom of your heart, you start shouting that, well, I have not done it, I have not done it. And the management falsely accuses you that, no, it is you who is responsible, and ultimately terminates you for that. That certainly is an instance of unfair labor practice. So one we say is victimization, not in good faith. Third is, we see patently false reasons. Now the next unfair labor practice would be by falsely implicating an employee in a criminal case on false evidence or on concocted evidence. Falsely incriminating him. Falsely, everything is false. Just think of a situation. How would you feel if you were in this place, and that certainly is an unfair labor practice? That to a criminal case, well, that is going to have a stigma on my face for the rest of my life. It's going to be a blotch on my career for the rest of my life. And that too on false evidence, or it could be on concocted evidence. You build up the evidence, you concoct the evidence, you plant the evidence. This is an unfair labor practice. Then, friends, for patently false reasons which we saw, untrue or trumped up allegations of absence without leave. Well, I am present. There are different time machine, whether it's a slot machine, whether it's a swipe machine, whether it's a thumb machine, whatever. And then, in spite of that, as far as thumb machines are concerned, the employer changes the codes. Slot machines where you can play with it. Everything is an unfair labor practice. To dismiss or discharge employees on untrue or trumped up allegations of absence without leave is an unfair labor practice. Now, friend, in utter disregard, discharge or dismissal. Don't forget, it's discharge or dismissal, and then the classification is all these examples which I am giving you. Schedule 4 says in utter disregard of the principles of natural justice in the conduction of a domestic inquiry. It's utter disregard. Disregard is qualified by an adjective called utter. So the dismissal or discharge is in utter disregard of the principles of natural justice. I told you, principles of natural justice are two. One is audio alterum partem, that is it's enshrined in the maxim called audio alterum partem, that is the right to be heard. And as we saw as to how much intelligence and brilliance is required that before you punish a person, you have to hear him. Second principle is enshrined in the maxim, that is in nemo debet, esse judex, in propria causa. Nobody can be a judge in his own cause. A cat cannot be of the jury at a rat's trial. Cat is interested in the rat, so if you are interested in the litigation, you are already biased. Now all this is going to shatter your domestic inquiry. You did hold a departmental inquiry or a domestic inquiry, but a defective inquiry is equal to a no inquiry. That's what Honorable Supreme Court says. And once we find this, that the inquiry is just to be thrown away and you have dismissed or discharged a person on the basis of such an inquiry which is in utter disregard of the principles of natural justice. That is not allowed, that's an unfair labor practice. Then for a misconduct of a minor or technical nature without having regard to the past misconduct of a person. Minor or technical nature, you are late 15 minutes, so you are dismissed from your services. If you dismiss and discharge people for such flimsy reasons, let me tell you, half the India would be on the roads tomorrow. This is not what is contemplated by our legislators. This is not. So, you dismiss or discharge for a minor misconduct of a technical nature, 15 minutes and this and that, and without giving any regard to his past misconduct. That he is such a good worker. He is won accolades in his past. He has got so many things to his credit. Once he was even given some say a prize or something which workmen are given. Being unmindful of everything, you dismiss or discharge a person for a minor or technical reasons. That certainly is an unfair labor practice. I mean, this is just a glimpse of unfair labor practices. Then we are having so many others to abolish the work for regular nature and give it to say contractors as a measure of breaking a strike is an unfair labor practice. Then you have to transfer, say transferring employees from one place to another, and the transfer is modified or under the guise of following a management policy is an unfair labor practice. I mean, to transfer a person, transfer is indeed a management right, and with every transfer there is going to be some inconvenience. But to transfer a person modified is an unfair labor practice. And likewise, there are a series of unfair labor practice to insist upon employees to sign a good conduct bond, non-implementation of agreement, settlement or award. And what is a settlement or what is an agreement? Well, your appointment letter is an agreement. Your standing orders accompanying them constitute an agreement. Use of force, you bring gundas, hire gundas to beat workmen. That is an unfair labor practice. So the use of force is again not allowed. That amounts to an unfair labor practice. And friends, these are unfair labor practices on the part of employers. This is just an overview, just a glimpse of it. And Schedule 3 is unfair labor practices on the part of unions. They also indulge into unfair labor practices. Say for instance, taking a morcha at the residence of the employer is an unfair labor practice. Not to bargain in good faith or collective faith, that is an unfair labor practice. So all these are unfair labor practices, just to give you an overview of it. Of course, each and every unfair labor practices what we see could be dealt with in detail in our forthcoming videos. Okay, thank you so much, friends.